Hello everyone, it's week 4 of the Paper Mania prompt in the Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium, and the challenge this week is to do something with postage stamps. Now you can either use cancelled postage stamps like I've got here. I just picked these up from the charity shop. I've had these in my stash for quite some time. Or you can print out some faux postage stamps, or you could even make your own faux postage stamps. This is such a broad prompt this week, and I'm really excited to see how everybody else decides to interpret it. Now I've decided that I want to make a postage stamp ephemera folder. So I've got here a piece of A4 size, so letter size, craft cardstock. This is 300 GSM craft cardstock, and all I've done is scored it on my scoreboard and folded it in half. Now this isn't going to be the finished size, and this will give me a bit of wiggle room. But what I'm going to do is I've worked out that I've got enough stamps here to have 6, or the equivalent of 6. This is the size of 2 together. So 6 stamps along the top and 7 along the bottom. And what I want to do is just randomly glue these down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 across. And then I can have 7 going down, and then I can just trim off the excess. This just gives me a little bit of room to play with so that it's not too tight. What am I doing? I'm going in the wrong direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and I think that will give me quite a nice size, and won't look too square. Now the way I'm going to glue these down, I'm just going to use a regular glue stick. I've got lots of well used deli paper here that I'm going to use, and as I say, I'm just going to use some glue stick just to randomly glue this down, and I'm going to try not to overthink which colours I am putting where. I'm just going to start at the top, have myself a little bit of a border like this, and I'm just going to work my way along. So that's the first one. And I'll just keep reusing the deli paper, just so that I don't end up getting in a horrible gluey mess, just making sure that I've got plenty of glue along the edges like this. I think I might have one of those at the end. So again, just making sure I've got plenty around the edges. So we'll do one line first. I should do one line across and then one line down, making sure that I've got a nice straight line across the top. So I've got my first row of postage stamps down, and I'm just going to press this down with my bone folder just to make sure that those are firmly attached. Now you saw here that I'm using deli paper. You could use a piece of parchment paper, use old scrap book pages, whatever you like. It's just to catch the excess glue, just to make things a bit tidier. So I'm just going to keep going, working my way down this side now. You could overlap your postage stamps if you want to. You could do postage stamps in one particular colourway, different designs. There are just so many options for doing this. Now the Graphics Fairy does have some free printable faux postage stamps, so if you don't have any cancelled ones like I've got, then do go and check that out. It is a free printable. I've seen postage stamp wrapping paper in the shops as well before now, so really have a think about what you might be able to use. I think that will be a nice size for my ephemera folder, so postage stamp ephemera folder. So again, I'm just making sure that I'm using my bone folder to make sure that those are firmly attached, and I'm just going to keep going across and down until the whole page is covered. I've finished covering the front cover of my postage stamp wallet, and what I'm going to do now is just trim it down the side and at the bottom before I do the same with the postage stamps on the back. I love how that looks. That's what it looks like now that it's cut down to size. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the back. Folder is finished. I love how that looks. So that's what it's like on the front, and I just love having these random larger stamps as well. I just think it makes it look less uniform and a bit more fun. Now before I do anything to the inside, I just want to ink around the edges, and I'm using Distress ink in frayed burlap, just to grunge it up just just a little bit, so I shall go around all of the edges, including the spine as well, inside and outside. And that will also help hide any imperfections where, you know, it's not quite even along the edges. It's not too bad, actually. It's pretty good, I think. This is what it looks like now that I've inked around the edges. I really like that. It's more noticeable on the inside, but that's really grunged things up a bit and ties in with the vintage look of the postage stamps. Now, of course, I need some way of displaying the postage stamps inside. Parchment paper, I don't think would work. This is parchment paper here, and although it's translucent, it tears really easily, and I don't think it would be strong enough. But I picked up this stuff here, which is very similar to vellum. I got this from the scrap store a few years ago. It's textured on one side and smooth on this side here, but you can see that it's transparent, and I think this is going to be ideal. If you want to do something similar to this, you could use acetate. You could also cut up a plastic Ziploc bag, or maybe one of those clear plastic wallets. I think, you know, you get a very similar effect by doing that. So I've cut myself 10 strips, 5 for either side. And this is what I'm going to use to display my postage stamps. So I'm going to space them apart like this so that I can slot postage stamps inside to display them. I think this will be really nice. I'm going to leave a big gap at the top because obviously, you know, I need space. I don't want them poking out of the top. So I just need to find a way of gluing this down. Now, I've had a play around with some diamond glaze, which has got quite a thin nozzle, and it didn't work very well. I've just tried it on a scratch piece of one of these strips. It just bled too much. I tried gluing it down to a scratch piece of paper, and it oozed out way too much and just took up too much space. So I think I'm going to use some of this double-sided sticky tape here. This is the red sticky tape, which is really, really strong. You can see mine's in a bit of a mess. I haven't used it for ages, so I'm going to have to try and find the end. This here is 3mm, so I found myself an end here, and what I'm going to do, let me just move those out of the way. I've got myself a piece of deli paper to work on. I want to work on the rough side here, and I'm just going to apply a strip all along the bottom edge, leaving myself a bit of an overhang so that I can just trim that off, being really, really careful that I don't go over the edge as well. So I'm just going to stick this all the way down. So this is going to be the fiddliest part, I think, and I can use a bone folder as well just to make sure that that's stuck down nice and firmly. Then I can trim off the excess on both ends. Trim the excess on that edge as well, and then I need to do the side, so let me just make sure I get it on the right side. Oh, I've lost my stickiness. That's just stuck down to my paper, so let me just trim that off, and I'm going to do the same. Can you see what I'm doing? The same on the two short edges as well, and trim that off. Do the same on this end here, and I'm going to have to do this with all 10 of my pieces of vellum stroke plastic type paper, and then just trim off the excess there like that. And the important thing is to make sure that that's burnished down really, really well, because otherwise it's near on impossible to peel the backing paper away. Okie dokie, so I've got the glue applied to all of my strips, so here they are. So I've got 10 of these. Now, as I've said, I've made sure that I've burnished these down, because otherwise it would just make it really difficult to get the backing off. So what I'm going to do is just use a pokey tool. Let's just try and get rid of this backing of the tape. Here we go, this is coming off nice and easily. And let's start putting this together. So what I'm going to do is work from the bottom. So let's just stand up and do this, stick that down like that. And again, I'm just going to burnish that to make sure that that's firmly attached, nice and neat. You can hardly see that glue, but that gives me a nice little pocket to be able to put my stamps in. And I'm going to work bottom up, doing both sides at the same time, just to make sure that they're even, so it looks nice and neat once the little folder is open. So again, just taking this backing strip off, really easy with the pokey tool. I can't remember whether I mentioned how wide this tape is. It's 3mm. So again, let me just stand up to do this. Whoops. Come on, you. Make sure that you take your time with this and get it in the right position. There we go. That's good. And again, just burnish that down really well, and that's holding nicely. So then I'm going to work my way up again, and what I think I might want to do is just make myself some pencil marks so that I know what spacing I want in between them all, now that I've got those bottom ones down. So let's have a look, because I want to make sure that I've got plenty of room at the top. Once I've done one, that's okay. So about there will do fine. So once you've got one on top of the bottom one, then the spacing will be much easier to work out. Now I'm really going to have to take my time with this to make sure that I get it straight. So let's have a look. Make sure that the gap is even between the two. That's good enough for me. And again, just burnish that down really well. And I'm just going to keep working my way up. Here we go. I've got 2 down, so I'm just about to add my third. So I just want to make sure that the gap is even, about the same as the other one. So about there, like that. Stick that down. And this is going really quickly now. Really happy with this, and it was definitely the right thing to do a row at a time. Now you might be wondering why I didn't do a whole strip right the way across, and why I did the left hand page and the right hand page one at a time. If I'd have glued these strips right across, when I've come to fold it, it would have just buckled in the middle. We end up with sort of, lots of spare paper, and it just doesn't work. There's obviously some scientific reason why, I have no idea, but if you want a nice flat look without any additional bulking, then you need to do one side at a time. I'm really pleased with the tape that I use. This red double-sided sticky tape is incredibly strong. It's permanent. I've had journal pages that I glued down 4 or 5 years ago that are still well and truly firmly stuck. It's not like the cheap double-sided sticky tape. So of course now all I need to do is go and find some pretty stamps to pop in here. So as soon as I've done that, I'll be straight back. Well, I really enjoyed filling this full of stamps, and I've tried to put quite an eclectic selection here. We've got Peter Rabbit, Winnie the Pooh, Wind in the Willows, of course Alice in Wonderland, a few Christmassy ones, Charles Dickens, we've got Churchill here, lots of the Queen, we've got some English composers, and just a mixture of all sorts. I just think that's a lovely Happy Mail gift to give away to maybe an overseas friend. You could of course make life easy for yourself, and if you do one of these, you could of course scan the cover and reproduce this time and time again. That would save you a lot of time now that you've already gone to the hard work, and of course because I've done this once as well, now I know what to do, and I could whiz these up in a fraction of the time. I just think these are just absolutely lovely Happy Mail gifts to give away to friends. So I hope that's given you some ideas as to how you can use postage stamps for this week's prompt. And of course, you know, make something to hold your own postage stamp collection as well. You could put several pages of these together, of course, if you wanted to. So I look forward to seeing how everybody else decides to interpret the postage stamp challenge this week. Don't forget to go and check out Kylie's video to see what she's been up to this week. As always, you'll find the link to her video in the description box below. And for anybody that would like to follow along with this challenge, I'll leave the link to the Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium, in the description box below. And please feel free to come and join us. Just be aware that we are a prompt related group. So, you know, anything that's posted that isn't related to our prompts does get deleted, so you know, just be aware of that, but we look forward to having you play along with us. So as always, if you enjoyed my video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Take care everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.